We want to be able to look at a listing's age. We want to also look at total sales. We want to also look at monthly sales. We want to look at the listing views if we can. We want to look at how many times that item has been favorited. And then we want to look at how many sales converted from the listing views. So let's talk about the validation piece itself. Okay. So when we are looking for products, now I'm assuming that you have your niche selected. All right. Now, if you don't have your niche selected, you can still use this process to do the validation. But let's just assume, let's go down the avenue of you already are in a niche and you are looking for other products and you want to see what is selling and what is selling well, what is sold in the past, what is the history on that. We want to be able to do that. So this way here, we can shortcut the flops, if you will, right? And get rid of those and not really avoid those, not even like shortcut them, but just get them out of the way. Because when we are doing traditional product research, we aren't able to really see the numbers. And a lot of times when people are looking at using a tool like Everbee, you don't really know what you're looking at or what really matters. And today I want to share with you how I stumbled on this new feature that just rolled out in Everbee and how this got me really excited. Actually, my wife and I, we started digging in after I showed her it, and we started going in our own niche and started to look at other avenues and sub niches and products. And we ended up sitting at the kitchen table for about an hour, actually later than we wanted to, because I wanted to go to bed and so did she. And it was like, we just kept going down this rabbit hole of these potential areas of our niche because we were able to look into a little bit more in depth. So really just want to say, if you have your niche, this is something that I would definitely encourage you to do. Now, the tool that we are using is Everbee, and I will throw that up on the banner. And yes, I am an affiliate for Everbee. You will buy me a cup of coffee, which I have one right in hand right now, and I would appreciate it if you did go through my link, but you don't have to. But I'm just saying, if you do go through my link, I will get a cup of coffee for you signing up. Again, if you sign up for free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it is free for your first 10 searches, I believe. But moon phases, a very, very unique and very just obscure niche. Like, who would think moon phases could be a thing, right? I mean, look at this, moon phases, right? But then look at all of this here. Look at all of these little circles up here. These are all categories. Okay. These are all, like, if you were to do the same thing here and type this in, you would see auto suggest, right? So what this is telling us is, okay, there's definitely products here for this niche. Now, here's one tip for you. If you were looking at this here, moon phases, and you didn't see hardly any of these, like there's maybe like 2, it probably means there's not a lot of opportunity in that niche. Okay. So that's just one thing that I do look at. But if we're looking at this right here, there's not much data that we can see other than, okay, this is a star seller. This is a star seller. These are all ads. There's not a lot that it's going to tell us. Sometimes we can see the bestseller badge. Okay, that's great. But if you guys have ever used Everbee, which that's what you're seeing right here, this little extension here, let me try to draw this better, but this bar over here that you see, this is the Everbee, this right here, this is the Everbee extension that's kind of overlaying your, your computer screen, okay, your browser. So let's go in here now, okay? So I did the search, and then this is what it pulled up, okay? Now, I could keep scrolling here, but I took a screenshot of this because I wanted you to be able to see it. And I'll kind of walk through some of this stuff. But basically what I did was I sorted it right here, okay? I sorted by revenue, okay? I sorted it by revenue. And this here is going to give me all the total revenue. I can do the same thing for estimated sales. I can do total sales and listing age. Now, the reason why I have these highlighted here, and I kind of made it a point to bring this to your attention, is because estimated total sales, what that's doing for me. Now, this isn't a new feature. This has always been there, but this is something that I look at. I'll look at that, and then I look at listing age. So I look at this and I go, okay, this here has 525 sales, okay? Total sales. It's been live for 11 months. Okay. So that's not even a year. That's pretty good. And it right now, last month, it did 46 sales and it did $4,800. Pretty good. Okay. So then I can do the same thing here. I'm like, okay, 13,000 sales right here. And it's been live for 2 years. Okay. So if we cut that in half, we got a little over, 6,500 ish sales. Okay. Per year. And last month did 517. It's only $6. But I'd be thinking, okay, is this a lead? Is this a lead in? Is this like a product that could lead people into my store? That's for another conversation. But that's what I'm looking at. Then I would look at this one. Okay, this is 2 months old. And let's see, it's had 130 total sales. This is last month's revenue. And then this is last month's sales. Not too bad. Okay. Here's a shirt. It looks like, let me get rid of this stuff. It looks like on that one there, it's had 191 sales and total 584. And look at this, only 3 months old. So the reason why I'm doing this is I'm trying to see like, okay, history wise, how many sales, what's it done recently? What's it done recently here? But then also how old is it? Right? So this is one piece of the validation that I'm doing. Okay. But that's not the special secret little sauce here that I discovered now that Everbee has allowed us to see. Check this out. Here it is. Favorites have always been there, which is really important. But look at this. This here, okay? This right there, that's supposed to be an arrow. That right there, that is views. So now what it's telling me is it's had 85,738 views. Okay. This one here has had 412,743 views. Now, if I go back here, this is, let's see, the second one down. That listing is 25 months old. So I would say 25 months old, about 2 years. And in 2 years, it's had 412,000. That's pretty good. Okay. Now let's look at one of these other ones that isn't that old. So like this one here, 3 months old, 584. It's that shirt. So let's look at that shirt right here. It's had 19,196. So I'm looking at this, at the views really to see, okay, those aren't purchases, but it's interest. It's what people have seen this, they've actually went and either landed on it or saw it. Okay. So that's really, really awesome to be able to have that data. Now, the other thing that they added was this right here in this column, and that's conversion rate. So now I can see, okay, 412,000 views. Okay. It's been favorited 5,595. Now, you guys, if you haven't heard me talk about this, favorites are great. All right. To be able to see favorites, why is that great? Because we are able now to see that, okay, maybe they didn't buy. Maybe not all of them bought, but people touched that product. So imagine someone came in your store, they saw it sitting out on a display, they picked it up, and now we know that that's how many people were actually interested in that thing, right? Really, really important. So now if we look at views and we look at favorites, it gives us more data. Okay. Because the views is like, okay, that's how many people actually saw it. This is how many people actually favorited it. And this is how many people as a conversion rate, 3.17, which is pretty good from these views. Okay. So these are all metrics that I'm looking at. And sometimes the conversion rate doesn't really matter to me as much because it could just be not really a good listing. Now, this visibility score, this is something brand new as well. And this here, and I haven't really dug into it, but the way that I would use this now is not so much for, well, a little bit for research, but what I'm using it for is, okay, it's telling me that this is 100, the visibility score. That means that this here is pretty well optimized. If this was a 75 or something, or maybe a 60, and it still had good sales, that would be an opportunity for me to come in here, create a product that was similar, and I could do a better job on the optimization and potentially outrank them. So that's another cool thing inside of Everbee. All right. And once again, guys, if you have not yet signed up to try it for free, I would definitely encourage you to do so. And I think it's already up there. Yeah, Chris has got it up there. So definitely give it a try. Like, there's no credit card required. You can try it for free. And if you go through my link, you can get, I believe it's 10 free searches per month. All right. So give that a shot. Chris, before I move on to the next one, is there anything we needed to talk about or discuss with that so far?
A couple things. So you get a lot of the basic data available on the free plan. I do believe, Scott, the advanced analytics stuff is only available on the growth plan.
Okay.
It may be available on the pro plan as well. So for those of you guys who don't know, and I'm not an Everbee salesperson, right? But I have the pricing page pulled up because I knew this was going to come up. The free plan allows you to get those free searches, right? Then there's the pro plan and the growth plan. And I think the growth plan is the one that you would need. And I think annually that works out to like $20 a month, something like that, to get all of this data. Now, you don't need any of this data to do niche validation, to do any of these things, but it does make this process a heck of a lot easier. And Scott, if we go to and we look at the monthly and we say, we'd have to ask Everbee, right? But I'm pretty sure it's included in the growth plan. $30, right, for the month, even if that's all we're going to do, to be able to quickly validate the niche, that to me is more than worth it, right? To understand what this looks like, even if you're only going to pay for it for the month, to get the conversion rate data, to get all of this, that seems to make sense to me. The other thing that I think is really cool with this, Scott, is we not only get the sales on the products, but we get the total shop sales at a glance. And so we're able to see, and yes, like you can go into the shop and do that and get that data, but you can't easily compare that to the number of sales on a specific listing. So we're very able to see if a shop is top heavy, for example, right? Meaning they have one product that's leading to all of their sales, or if this product that's selling 5,000 units a year is just a small fraction of the business that they're doing. If it's that case, well, then we have a really compelling reason to go jump into their shop, do a little bit more analysis, see how they're treating the niche, see what they're doing, and getting through all of those things. The other thing I think that's interesting here is this conversion rate. And you touched on this. Being able to see that lets us get a really good idea of how much demand there is, right? Because conversion rate is just number of views divided by number of sales. Pretty straightforward. But also how well that specific product is performing versus expectations, right? A mid-range conversion rate on an Etsy product should be somewhere between 1 and 3%, right? I'd say 1.5 to 2 is probably the really safe version of that range. If any of these products are converting lower than that, we should be writing that down, especially if they have a high number of views, right? This very first one that we're seeing here, Scott, 85,758, I think that says, views over 13 months. Now, I'm not a math genius, but I know how to use a Google calculator. That tells me they're getting like 6,600 views per month, and they're only converting 0.81% of those people. If that flower moon phase wall art thing is something that we're interested in, we need to take note of that. It means there's a metric buttload of demand for that product, right?
That's actually 6,000.
Yeah, it's an official measurement in the metric system. I know for our American friends, we don't really understand that, right? But in the rest of the world, you guys understand what a metric buttload is. It's more than an imperial buttload. But when we see something like that, right? 6,600 views monthly, right? Spread out, and only a 0.8% conversion rate. It means there's a lot of demand for that product and it's not being filled by the existing product. Why? It's converting less than half of what it should be doing, even if it's a mediocre listing. So we need to make a mental note of that to come back and say, okay, maybe we create a different version of this. Maybe when they're looking for moon phase wall art, what they're really looking for is a picture and not stickers or whatever this thing is. This is just getting all of this search volume and they're getting all of these views, and those people aren't finding the product that they want. And so if we can create a different version of that, thinking through what people might logically want when they're typing in moon phase flower wall art, we have built in 6,000 visits a month that we have the potential to get. And even if we don't outrank them, we will over time as we are converting better than they are. Does that make sense? So seeing these numbers is great for quick validation, but it's also really cool for the product side of things and saying, okay, this is something I should pay attention to. There's clearly a lot of search volume related to this, and they're not doing a good job serving the audience with what they actually want.
Yeah. And, so I want to talk a little bit about like, how would you use this for niche validation itself, not just products, right? Because I think you're going to use it in both areas. Yeah. All right. So if I was doing this for niche validation, I would want to do that search. I'd want to do multiple searches. Let's say it was moon phases. And then from moon phases, I also seen it was like witchy decor was another one, right? What I would do is I would start to take these common searches. And the way that I'm going to do that also, by the way, is I'm going to look at their tags, and that's going to give me ideas of what else they're trying to go after. And that will give me more inspiration. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at views as a way for me to see how much traffic is out there, right? Like how much is really being searched for, because the views are not lying, right? It's like telling me like, if these are being viewed, that means there's people viewing them, right? And if people are viewing them, that means that there's people in that market searching for moon phases in this case, right? Or bass fishing, right? Whatever it is. So that's why if I was doing this for the niche validation side of it, I would be using it as like, I'd be looking at that full list. So if we go back to this list, let me go back in here and see if my little pen is working again. Yeah. So I would go right in. Let me change that color, Chris. I want a different color. I want to go with, let me go
with like a fuchsia, because you got orange and green on here.
See what,
there we go.
Yeah, that might show up a little better. So yeah, so I'm going to basically go right here and I'm going to look at every single one here. And I'm going to do this for multiple searches. So I did this one for moon phases. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at all of this. And I mean, heck, I'm looking at this one here at, what's that? 412,000 for just that one. I would have to look into it and make sure that it has to do with moon phases and all that good stuff. But even if I got rid of that one, I'm looking at this one. This is definitely moon phase, and it gets 85,000 views. It has. And it looks like, from what I can see here, the shop age is only 13 months old. How old is the listing? Well, let's look. So that one there is this one. The listing is 11 months old. So it's just, it was just when it opened. Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually getting more than that 6,600 that we were talking about, because I just based that off the shop age, which is what was on that slide.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at that, then I'm like, okay. And then you have all these other things. So I have this one here, right? I have that one that's definitely moon phase. I have this here, which I know is moon phase. And then you have this one here, right? Moon phase. And then this one here, moon phase. So I'm taking these and I am going to look at the views. So I have that one is the view. I have this one is a view. This one is a view. So 31,693, 19,000, 85. And then I'm looking at, okay, the shop age, this is 2 years old, but that's not the listing, right? So let's look at the listing. So the listing here that's 24 months. Let's see, this one here is only 3 months though. So what about that shirt? What did that do? The shirt here was 19,000 in 3 months, right? So that's kind of how I'm doing it if I'm looking at validating a niche. I'm looking at moon phase, and then I'm looking at all of the other searches that would be done, and I'm going to do the same process. And then looking at the favorites is also just another thing. Like before, we would just look at the favorites. Now we have views and conversions. Like that's amazing. And the visibility score allows me to see if that listing has a weak spot where I can maybe do better on optimization. So yes. And yeah, I did not realize, to be quite honest with you, I didn't know what plan that all of this was accessible to, but I do know with the 10 free searches, you do get, some of this data, even if all you got was the estimated monthly sales and the total sales, right? Or the age of the listing. So anything that you can get is better than just looking at this here and guessing. This is what I use, and this is what I would suggest all of you doing, no matter if you use a tool or not. We want to be able to look at a listing's age. We want to also look at total sales. We want to also look at monthly sales. We want to look at the listing views if we can. We want to look at how many times that item has been favorited. And then we want to look at how many sales converted from the listing views. So it's kind of like you're looking at this here, right? You're looking at that, and then you're looking at that. All right. So that's kind of how I use this here. Okay. And this is kind of how you can figure out, are there products that are selling well that you can draw inspiration from. And this way here, you're not guessing, you're just looking at the data and letting the data guide you and tell you what your next move is.